We'll call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals. We'll have the, if you'll stand for the pledge, please. Joe Machado, would you lead us in the pledge, please? Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Here.
Veronica Buchanan. Here. Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Joe Machado. Here. Michael Rather.
Here.
Jared Barrett.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, if all regular members are here, we'll be voting. You have the minutes of our last meeting before you. Are there any corrections or changes that need to be made?
Move be approved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion to be approved as mailed. Second. We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. They are approved. The first item we have, are you ready for? Are you ready for the, okay. The first item of business we have is a request by the Patels, who are requesting a variance relief from a front yard setback. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application, can you hear me? Application 1546 is an application filed by C&E Market Deli. It's located at 5855 Shelbyville Highway. It's a 2-acre site. They are seeking variance relief 4 feet from the front setback that's imposed by the zoning district and the zoning ordinance, and then it results in a 14-foot setback reduction from the plat that's recorded showing a 40-foot requirement. They are seeking this variance to add some additional area to their property along the Ellis Drive frontage to allow for the installation of coolers and freezers for the business that's located there. We have not received any phone calls regarding this particular application. The applicant has gone through several revisions of a site plan. They've been in the site plan process for a while, and it just was looking like it was going to be increasingly difficult to build the addition to the rear because of the location of existing septic lines. So that this is kind of the only area without having to relocate septic lines that they could add the additional square footage that they need to free up some space within the store and add freezer area. We see the site often every year with the fireworks requests. However, this involves this frontage along Ellis Drive and not the opposite side, and this is a more permanent feature that they're going to add to the property. We posted a sign on the property. This is the Ellis Drive that you see right here, and the addition will be just this portion right here. Photos of the surrounding area have commercial located across the street, Dollar General, looking south towards Shelbyville. And this is the site plan, the latest that's been submitted by the applicant, showing the building pad for the freezer and coolers. And we find that it meets the criteria for variance approval. And this concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around to the podium, please. You'll give us your name and any additional information you'd like to share with the board.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ben Sri Patel, and I'm on the C&E Market. And we have a hardship to build the back building, as Daniel said, like we have a HVAC unit sitting on the back, septic system, less electric panel that we had to remove. We have a compressor, so it's really hard to put the cooler and freezer on back wall, rear wall. So only the option we have on the side, and we just need a 4 feet for the cooler and freezer, just the storage area. If it's
Any
possible.
questions?
Is this going to be where you load it on from the inside of the store or the outside?
Inside.
Inside.
Inside access, yes, sir. It's just the daily, it's just right there inside. It's just convenient for us to go in and out.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it. Have a motion that be approved. Second. Call a roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan,
Yes.
Joe Machado, Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion
It is
approved.
approved. The next item is a request by Richard Henson, and this is a special exemption for an accessory dwelling unit. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2015-47 is a request for special exception approval for an accessory dwelling unit that does not meet the design standards for ADUs. This property is located in a residential low-density zone. It's a 7.5-acre parcel with an existing home and several outbuildings and a barn. The applicant is in the process of constructing an accessory dwelling unit, which was permitted by right, and they demonstrated at the time of obtaining the permit that they would meet all the criteria for a detached accessory dwelling unit. They also had the covenants and restrictions recorded at the Register of Deeds to ensure the continued compliance of that accessory dwelling unit. However, during construction, the applicant felt that maybe some design changes were necessary. They weren't able to place the ADU exactly where they had hoped, and one of the conditions that they demonstrated at the time of obtaining the permit was that the entrance must not be visible to the right-of-way. And they would like to have the ability to have the entrance face Halls Hill Pike. That's the only condition at which this application does not meet. They came back in and filed application. So the property now, the accessory dwelling unit is currently under construction with a valid permit. If you were to deny the request tonight, they would simply just have to make some changes to the elevation of the structure. So this is the surrounding area. We posted a sign on the property. We did receive a phone call from some neighbors who had some concerns with the additional structure. This is the existing home on the property, surrounding properties. This is the proposed ADU. The ADU is going to be occupied by the applicant's relatives. And this is a site plan showing all the improvements, the septic field that will serve the ADU, the accessory dwelling unit, and the front elevation of the ADU. And that concludes our presentation.
We have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. You'll give us your name and any additional information you want to share with us.
Excuse me, I have a cold. My name is Rich Hansen, and the reason that we applied for the special exemption is simply to add a front door. Originally, when we applied to place a window where the front door was, because I did not realize when I applied, when we showed up to the zoning office that day, that I couldn't have a front door. So I planned everything to have a front door. Last minute, I found out I couldn't, so I asked to just allow me to build it with a window where the door would be, and they approved that. And during the construction process, we've decided that we would like to have a front door simply for ease of access for my aunt and uncle. They're aging. She has issues with walking, and also just for safety in the future. If something were to happen, they both had bypass surgeries, and say 2 o'clock in the morning, we get a call that they're having, heart issues or whatnot. If they have both vehicles in the garage, getting them out on stretcher, the EMS is going to roll up to the front and there's not going to be a door. Put them on a stretcher, they'd have to drag them out through the garage, which has it's it's a scenario that we don't want to end up being in. And we just thought that if I were to take that property as it is right now, that section where the ADU is, and I paid a surveyor $5,000, that's what it would cost for me to subdivide them 1 acre, it would be a legal residence. They have road frontage, they have acreage, and they have septic. But it would be a $5,000 front door. So that's why I'm appealing for the special exemption today. It's only about the front door. Everything else meets setbacks and meets design criteria.
Any questions? Thank you. I think you explained it all to us. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request.
I'm Bobby Modrell. I live not close to Mr. Hanson, and I was opposed to this at first, but when I went down there, I learned that I thought you had to have 5 acres to build a house on, and that was what I was opposed to, but after I found out you could do this, it's a nice-looking house, as you can see, and I'm just saying, hey, make it look like the rest of the houses on the around it right there. Give the man the front door right there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
Move to be approved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion to be approved. Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan,
Yes.
Joe Michaud, Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion
It is approved. The next item is a request by Richard Reeves, who is requesting a temporary special exemption for a barrel pit. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2015-48, filed by Richard Reeves, is a request for temporary special exception approval for a burrow pit with relief from the area requirements for burrow pits in the RM medium density residential zone. The site is a 215-acre site in the vicinity of 950 Jefferson Pike. We're quite familiar with this particular application. They are approaching an expiration date in January 31st or February 1st, and they are seeking to extend the permit, as has been expressed in previous requests, to continue the operations of removing the soil from the property as approved in the original permit back in 2013. So this is the site itself. They are not seeking, with this application, any changes to any of the originally approved conditions. So this is simply an extension. I have not received any phone calls as a result of the posting of the zoning signs. However, our engineer, Mike, is here to discuss any issues that engineering may have. We have met with the applicant, and he will go into detail regarding that. These are photos of the surrounding area. The site itself, we post 3 signs to ensure that everyone in the area is aware that there is a zoning application being filed affecting this large parcel. And what it is, just to give a synopsis of what they are doing, they are removing the dirt from this particular site in areas that were approved in the survey dated 2013, and they are transporting it to the adjacent property without any entry onto Jefferson Highway for landfill operations. And one of the pros from this particular request is the fact that you do not have increased truck traffic from bringing loads of dirt from other off-site properties. So they are adjacent to the landfill site, and it's easy to transport the soil from this to the next. So that's one of the pros. We find that it meets all the conditions. And if Mike, did you want to go into any detail about what your concerns are?
Sure. We did receive a few phone calls. I received one myself, and my stormwater inspector received a few over the summer, mainly concerning with dust, encroachment into the buffer zone, and not stabilizing excavation areas. We thought it best to sit down with the applicant and his staff, and we have done that, and we feel confident that the dust is not part of their excavation. They do have a water truck available on site that helps control the dust during the summer months. Not part of this application, they're looking to possibly modify drip irrigation areas for Riverwalk, and they had some areas staked out for grid stake for soil mapping, and we think that might be why they were concerned about encroachment into the buffer zones, but it's mainly just survey stakes out in the field. And then the last one was to stabilize excavation areas, and from our inspections, they are stabilizing the areas as they move along. So, and the one area that a lot of people are familiar with is along Jefferson Pike is outside of their property and was not part of their project. So we met with the applicant and their staff, and we feel confident that they are doing what they're supposed to do from their original application, and then we've also asked them to go above and beyond just as a visual marker to put some posts up that you can see above the high grass to visually delineate their excavation areas, so the neighbors will see that they can't move beyond these posts, and then we feel confident with that.
As I understand the original approval of this, they are taking the topsoil off of the clay in under it, and they're keeping the topsoil
Yes, sir.
for reclamation purposes.
Yes, sir. Right.
So you've got that part of it, which is good. Then, you know, regardless of where they get the clay, the place is going to be open for the next 15 years or so. So they've got to get clay from somewhere, and this is just adjacent to it. You're not on Jefferson Pike. You're not running up and down the roads. So this is still the procedure, and they have access directly into the landfill from
Yes, sir.
there.
Right, and we're happy that they're not tearing up our roads.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
I do not have anything else.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? Always have an attorney in the house, don't we?
I like it. Good evening. I'm Ted Goodman of Murphy & Murphy Attorneys. We represent the applicants in this matter, Richard Reeves and his wife, Joan Reeves. Next slide, please. And this is a request, as Ms. Glauner mentioned, this is a request for renewal of the Reeves' pre-existing special exception for borrow pits. It allows the Reeves' to sell clay to the adjoining BFI property without having to go on to the public roads, and that clay is a necessary part of the landfill operations. Next slide. This is the Richard and Joan Reeves property, which is 215.66 acres on East Jefferson Pike, which is directly adjacent to the BFI property. This is the survey showing the property. This is East Jefferson Pike. That is the Riverwalk subdivision. This is the BFI property, and these areas in hatch marks are the borrow pits that have already been approved that we're asking to have renewed. Next slide. As the board members are aware, this does not extend the life or scope of the landfill. The clay is normally obtained elsewhere and trucked in across the public roads. So the landfill would inevitably get the clay from some other source, if not from Mr. Reeves, which requires extensive dump truck trips on the roads. This merely allows them to obtain the clay, take it directly across the fence line without ever going onto the public roads. Next slide. That will remove approximately 50 dump truck trips per day from the roads, which will save about 60,000 dump truck trips over the anticipated life of the project, thus preserving the road surfaces, reducing the possibility of traffic accidents with the dump trucks, and reducing the congestion on the roads. Next slide. As the county engineer mentioned, there have been some questions raised regarding an excavation on another property adjoining the Reeves property. That excavation is very close to Jefferson Pike. That is not the Reeves project. In fact, that project is everything that Mr. Reeves wants to make sure his project is not. The area of the Reeves excavation is currently several hundred feet off of Jefferson Pike and probably is not even visible from Jefferson Pike. Next slide. There have also been some questions regarding dust control. The applicant believes that this dust control, that these dust issues that were complained about this summer arose from the construction of a new detention area on property adjoining the Reeves property to the west, but not from the Reeves project. And Mr. Reeves is using and will continue to use extensive dust control measures, including having a water truck on site. Next slide. Mr. Reeves has made a number of commitments to his neighbors, to the county, and to the members of this board regarding the way he's going to conduct the project. He renews and reaffirms all those commitments, and they are all in writings filed with the Planning Commission. Next slide. Just as a highlight, there will be there's not simultaneous excavation from the entire project. Only one section of 5 acres or less at a time is being excavated. Prior to excavation, topsoil is removed and stored on site, and after each section is complete, the topsoil is returned and reseeded to restore the property. The goal of the project is that 6 months after the project is complete, the land should appear undisturbed. Next slide. There's no blasting at all during the project. Dump trucks and service trucks involved in the project are prohibited from entering the applicant's property through any residential subdivision, and excavation occurs only during daylight hours. Next slide. All borrow pits are set back at least 150 feet from all residential property lines and at least 50 feet from all other property lines. As a new commitment, Mr. Reeves is going to place posts or some other visible markers showing the setback lines where they are visible from Riverwalk or from any of the public roads, so the people can easily look out and say, it's not going to come any further, any closer than that. And of course, he's going to continue to use extensive dust control methods and also prevention of erosion and air pollution. Next slide. Obviously, the BZA retains extensive oversight over this project. We're required to come back at the end of each permitting period to seek renewal, and a permitting period is 6 months with the potential of a 3-month administrative extension. So this allows the BZA to continue to police the applicant's fulfillment of their commitments and obligations to the neighbors, to the county, and to this board. Thank you.
Any questions?
Comment, the map you had, the plan view, the next time when you all come before us, it's too late now, but if we could show color code or some way show us what's been done or what's currently being done versus what hasn't been done for us and the folks at home, just to kind of show us what's been, to show progress on the map, that'd help.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Got a comment with everything that Mike has spoke of and Mr. Goodwin here. I'd like to applaud the applicant for the commitment that they've had, and with the calls that we get, and they go out there and they take care of them. If there's something going on, they take care of it. I'd like to applaud the applicant for having that commitment and doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the things that I've certainly been impressed with over the time that we've had this, when you compare the digging up of soil at many of the barrel pits that have been approved, boy, this is head and shoulders above anything that's been done in the county before. So I think you're exactly right.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the request.
Have a motion to be approved.
Second.
Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley. Veronica Buchanan. Joe Machado. Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell. Motion approved.
Okay, it is approved. The next item we have is a request. This is on behalf of Verizon Wireless, and this is a special exemption for a monopole communication tower. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2015-49 is a request for special exception approval for the establishment of a monopole communications tower measuring 125 feet in height upon a property located in the RM medium-density residential zone. It's a 73-acre site. The owner of the property, Gay Hughes, and the applicant representing Verizon Wireless, Baker, Donaldson, Behrman, Caldwell, Berkowitz, is here tonight to address any questions you might have. But the address of the property is 7351 South Lamar Road. The site is not developed, nor it's not a heavily developed area, just off West Jefferson Pike. And they are seeking to establish the height to improve the communications in this area, especially improve their coverage. As a part of our review for telecommunications towers, we require the applicant to submit a party from a third party expert, submit a report from a third-party expert to determine that the proposed tower meets all the technical standards that's contained in our zoning ordinance for the establishment of a new telecommunications tower. And the consultant found that they did meet all of our requirements. He recommended some conditions that we've incorporated into our report and the final findings. And the applicant has demonstrated meeting at least one of those conditions by submitting a letter that if the tower discontinues use, it would be removed within 180 days. We posted a sign upon the property. I've not received phone calls on this particular request. This is photos of the surrounding area. The tower, it's 125 feet. It's more than 160 feet from any property line. So it well exceeds the setback that's required for communications towers. If this is approved, they would still have to go through site plan review to get approval from the Planning Commission for this new tower site. The tower has 3 additional antennas for future co-locations. That's one of our requirements. This is just a layout of the site and the access drive. And we find that it meets the criteria, and that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. You'll give us your name and any additional information you want to share.
My name's Joey Hargis with the law firm Baker Donaldson. My law partner, Matt Harris, is also present here. And thank you for taking the time to hear our request tonight. As Danielle noted, our proposal is to put this monopole tower on the subject property, serving twofold purposes. One, helping offload data usage on additional towers in the area, but to provide an additional capacity for this growing portion of the county here. This tower is, as Ms. Glauner talked about, is 160 feet from any adjoining property. We're almost 500 feet from the road. And obviously the heavily wooded area, we propose to leave it as is. It act as a good screening from Lamar Road. We will enclose the site as your ordinance requires with an 8-foot fence around the compound area. And we've also, as you pointed out on the elevation drawing of the tower will initially start with just Verizon's antenna on it. It is structurally capable of supporting those additional antennas, but that is not part of the initial request. Those may be later down the road. Other carriers wish to locate on our tower. They're certainly welcome to. We are awaiting the FAA's determination of a no hazard, and we'll provide that to the county upon submittal of the building permit. We're happy with the condition that you all feel necessary to place on this. Certainly we'll comply with that item there. I do have some propagation studies if you're interested. They were submitted as a part of the record that show an area there here if you'd like them. but I'm here if you have any questions.
Any questions? Go ahead.
When you said the 500 foot off the road, it kind of jogged my memory to ask this question. Are you going to have an access road back there in case emergency personnel or
Sure.
someone that may need to get back there to do some kind of whatever?
Absolutely. It's a 40-foot wide ingress-egress road off Lamar along that northern property boundary. It's just a little bit off the property line and goes back to the site. Yes, sir, we will.
Any other questions?
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. If you'll come around, please. If you'll give us your name and any information you might have.
Sure. I'm Nancy Williams. This is my husband, Brian Williams. We actually live next to where they propose to build the site. The proposed site is actually about 500 feet from our back door. Where it's going to sit is, they say it's less than 150 feet off the property line. We have a direct view of where this is going to be. We do live in a rural area. There's not many houses out there. There's already a tower approximately a mile from us on Hickory Grove Road. And then in the other direction, there is a tower 2 miles from us. I printed out something off the internet. Within a 4-mile radius of our house, there are currently 21 towers and 40 antennas in use already. We're worried about what it's going to do to our home value because of the perception of health risks. And as far as health risks, I have a son who has epilepsy, and they're currently doing studies about radio waves and how they affect people with epilepsy, that it can cause seizures. Of course, our other children, we worry about proposed risks to them. And with 70-plus acres, we don't feel like it needs to go right against our property. There's plenty of room to put it out because our property backs up to wildlife management. So if they were to put it further back, away from everyone, you know, we wouldn't be completely opposed to it as much as we are as it being right outside our back door. Within a 2-mile radius of us, there are no neighborhoods. It's very rural where we are. I guess in all the little addresses are shown so you can see there's not many houses out there. That's one reason we live out there, because it is rural. We're surrounded on every side by the river or wildlife management. We just do not feel it's necessary to have another tower. If we wanted better service, we'd move closer to town. We just don't feel it's necessary to have this right outside our back door.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Anyone else? Any questions from anyone? All right, we'll close the public hearing. And let me say to the 2 young folks that are here, the BZA has no authority to tell them where they can put a tower, okay? That's federal and state law. So they meet the requirements of a cell tower. And we understand your concerns, and we're glad to hear them and hear them that anyone wants to. But this, you know, if they meet our requirements, there's no legal reason or no way that we can turn these down. I hope you understand that. And I don't know what the board's going to do, but I did want you to know that. We'll entertain a motion on this now.
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Have a motion to be approved.
I'll second.
Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan,
Yes.
Joe Machado, Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion approved.
It is approved. Do we have any other business to come before the board? Yes, sir. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.